Hello, welcome to Whining On. I'm Matt Bowden. Today I'm here with David Shiner. David, please say a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Shiner. I'm a clown. I'm a director, writer, and an actor. I do a little bit of all of it, and a teacher. I'm not trying to fluff my feathers. I stick my fingers in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've been doing this for over 40 years, and started on the streets of Paris back in 1981, and been going ever since.
That is amazing, mate. And so I take it you started on the street. You didn't.
You froze there for a second, Matt.
Sorry, but it's because I'm trying to do two things at once on my computer. So I take it. Are you still here with me, Dave? Dave. So
yeah, you want to ask? You want?
Did you learn the street? Did you go to a performing school? Were you schooled in it?
Could you ask me again, because the sound was going in and out?
Of course, Dave. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share out. I'm just going to do this final thing, saying hopefully this will get through. The interview will be much easier after this point. Just getting it shared so everybody can see us live. Sharing group. So the thing I was asking is, were you schooled in it? Was there a trajectory from a child to go into the arts, or did you kind of go on the street like I did and started?
Well, I don't know, not consciously. I mean, I remember watching Jerry Lewis for the first time in third grade, and he made me laugh my head off. I just couldn't believe that there was an adult acting like a 9-year-old. It was great, and I never really trained. I studied acting for a few years in college, or I studied theater for a few years in college. But in terms of clowning and what I went on to do later, it's all self-taught.
Okay, and I find that with a lot of the street guys, they tend to go out on the street and start playing and forming things. So when you went out, so that's everything's shared. I can relax a little bit now. So when you went out on the street the first time, did you go there with a bag of tricks? Did you have some prep behind you? Was there something you were trying to achieve, or was it experiment?
Well, it was all experimental. I mean, I was I left college, and I was working then as a carpenter for 10 years, building houses. And at that time, I was
so you got into busking quite late. Then you're in your 30s by the time you got into busking, I assume.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So I not 30s. I can't remember, this time was a long time ago. I was building houses for 10 years. I was in Boulder, Colorado. I still had a love for theater. I didn't want to, there was a longing for that. I'd always did community theater and stuff like, little plays and things. And then I saw a mime one day they had just built a walking mall in Boulder. And there was a mime. There was a man named Samuel Avital who was teaching mime. In the Marceau style, and Etienne Descroux, and he had a school there. And I saw one of his students, and he was doing the wall, leaning on the bar, things like that. And I became intrigued. I went, "Holy man, that is really cool!" And he was making money. I saw that he was passing the hat, and I thought, "Man,
is it like a terrace style thing? So there's people sitting, eating, and he's performing for them, or is he actively gathering a crowd of people?"
Well, I can't remember exactly. In those days, I don't think there were really that many tables on the streets then. At least, the walking mall was new. It was, 3 or 4 blocks long. But I decided, to try it. I thought, man, that looks really cool. He's making money with that. So I bought a book on mime called Claude Kipnis on Mime. Claude Kipnis. And it was one of these books that you could, you flip the pages and it makes a film. And so he had all the techniques in the book. It was really cool. So I would stay at home and, get in front of the mirror and practice leaning on the bar and stuff. And anyways, I went out on the weekends to see what would happen. And my first costume, I must have looked like a copy of Marceau, striped shirt and Marceau hat with a flower in it and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And I was terrible. People would walk by and go, man, this guy's terrible, literally. And I just couldn't get a crowd. I mean, nobody would watch. And then I thought, well, I'll get an easel and write the titles of my, pieces on an easel and do these sketches. I had one with a little bird in a cage and another one with an old man who's sad. I mean, they were so stupid. Were
you thinking practically? Were you thinking, okay?
I was thinking classically. I was thinking Marceau classic.
Are you thinking it artistically? You're going, this is a school and this is development, or did you have a practical eye? Were you looking at the pitch?
No, I didn't get. No. For me, it was just, let's see if I can make some extra cash on the weekends.
Yeah.
And
but I mean, in the development of the work. So the way you're thinking when you're developing this thing is your mind going, okay, Marceau, that's an interesting piece of work. I'll try and do that. Or are you thinking an easel? That's a center point. It will create focus.
No. I'm thinking I stole it. Just stole it from Marceau. He worked with an easel, and had the titles of his sketches. I didn't steal his sketches, but and then I started getting a few people, and all the while in my free time I was practicing all the technique and leaning on the bar and walking against the wind, which was really difficult. A lot of the techniques were quite difficult, but one night, it was at nighttime. It was a Saturday night. Out of frustration, I was never getting more than 5 people. A cop car was coming through, and I stopped him. Went out and whistled and stopped him. Opened his door and whistled for him to get out of the car. I frisked him, and he played along. And then I got in his car and started to drive away, and he whistled. And I stopped, opened the door for him. He got back in. And drove away, and I turned around. There was about 100 people there. There was 100 people. I went, holy hell! Oh, I guess it was a happening. Oh, that's what you do. You involve people. You do something outrageous. Let's try that. Let's just do outrageous stuff. And so then I started working with the cars as they'd come through. I'd hold them up. It'd be a stick up, or if it was a couple, I'd take the woman out and put her in the car. In front, and ask the guy for money, or I'd sell her, stupid stuff.
You say it's stupid, but what you're doing is you're playing with something that's completely abnormal in that environment. You're creating something yeah.
Well, it's stupid in the sense. Okay, you're right. It was. All I was doing was breaking the rules. That's all.
Yeah, but did you have a character? Did you have an idea of I'm doing this to experiment with this, or?
No, it was just me being, obnoxious.
Yeah.
And so, and then I started. Then the policeman came up to me one day and said, "Hey, look, you can't be stopping cars all the time. It was fun for a while, but you're stopping traffic. There's too many people now who are watching. Try to do some other stuff." I said, okay. So I started working with the crowds. I just started, messing around with people. It was really nice because they had some benches there, and it was a really nice, a perfect place for playing and improvising. And there was lots of people on Friday and Saturday night. So first you had to, find a way to get their attention, and I would usually do that by doing something outrageous, and they'd stop, and he shouldn't be doing that. And then I started
grabbing somebody, or would it be shouting, screaming, or?
I'd have a heart attack. I had this stuffed dog. I would run up and attack people's legs and pee on them, and stand and mimic them, follow them. I didn't really get into the following stuff because it I found it was boring. Okay, you can mimic someone walking, but then what? For me, it was never satisfying enough. But you just keep at it and you keep at it. And I started at some point. I started earning more money on the streets than I did as a carpenter. So I'd do stuff like if a woman was there with a child in a carriage. I'd give her some money and take the kid, and then I'd go and sell the kid to somebody else, and then that would get a crowd, and then I'd start from that, and I'd just start to improvise, start with a silly idea, and see, just see where it took me. And it's all experimental. The biggest thing I had to overcome was my fear. You can't do this. I mean, whoa, that's going too far. Whenever you're stepping into people's personal space, you don't know what's going to happen. And
or how
so there was,
or how they're going to feel, how they'll take it.
Yeah, and how do you do it respectfully so they don't think you're an idiot?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. Maybe we'll talk about this more later, but I'd like to talk about then and now and things that you could and can't do. But we'll come back to that later. I just think it's an interesting point on that subject. So when you're developing this work, are you slowly gathering bits that work? You're going, right, that bit worked, that goes into the memory bank, and then you've got an extra bit. Yeah,
that's right. And it just, for me, it was always, okay, I can get a big crowd. I can, improvise with them, go to, if there's a big circle of people around me, I can go to, work with the kid. I can go to each individual person and have some shtick that I would do. But there's only so long you can do that. Eventually, you've got to offer more because you've got them, you're making them laugh, you're doing small things with them, but there needs to be then, what am I going to do? And that's how I developed this number called the Cinema, the Cinema Act. I started that on the streets of Boulder in 1978. I decided, well, I'll do a movie with them. So I bring people out and created this love scene, and somebody had to be the cameraman, and I was the director. And, it was very primitive in the beginning, but I kept at it. How do I develop it? How do I make it work? And because, you're making so many mistakes all the time. You've gone too far. You've gone too far into someone's space. You've annoyed somebody, and that's the last thing you want to do. You've done something that was maybe inappropriate because it was either too aggressive or you scared somebody. You there? Matt just disappeared. Matt?
me?
Okay, we're back, everybody. So,
Yeah, we're back. Hey, everyone, sorry about that.
so where were we? I can't remember.
So we're talking about we talked about the evolution of you beginning. We talked about you taking the easel, then developing the play, working the road, developing the play.
Oh, right. We were at the cinema. Yeah. So it was. Oh, I know where we were. It was about.
Police officer spoke to you.
You know, you make mistakes. Because you're always, when you're developing something on the streets from nothing, it's always, trial and error. Is this going to work? And you're always confronted with your fear, because you'd get laughs and you go, okay, that's good, but I need something else. How outrageous can I be? Do it with respect, so people don't think this guy's a jerk. Let's move on. And that was a big challenge. Yes. How do you get into somebody's space and have them trust you really quickly? So that took a number of years to really learn how to do that. But in the meantime, it was just fun. I was just playing and improvising. And anyways, to make a long story short, one night, these guys came through town. They were called Dr. Hot and Neon, a juggling duo, American guys, and they were great. And I struck up there were some people working the streets like Johnny Fox, Dr. Hot and Neon. There were some singers, and I can't remember. It's so long ago.
Can we just anchor it in a year? What sort of time are we looking at here? Is this 80? Is this?
That was 1980. Must have been 1980, 79, 80. Yeah. I said, "Where did you guys come from?" "Oh, we just came from Paris, man. It's really cool. You got to go there." I said, "Wow, what do you mean?" They said, "Well, street arts, man. Nobody bothers you. It's just really cool." I thought, Paris as a street artist, what am I doing here? I just thought, well, that sounds really exciting, because, the performing on the streets was starting to take over. In the summer, I was going every night. I didn't need to work. I stopped working as a carpenter, and I was making my money on the streets. So I literally decided to move to Paris. I had a suitcase with my clothes and stuff, and I had another suitcase with my props and costume. That was it. And, I flew to Paris. That was in the summer that must have been June of 1980. Yeah, landed in Paris, and that's how I got, and that's where the real work started.
And how did you going through the emotions on that journey? Little boy coming out to Europe.
Well, I'd been to Europe before. I always loved Europe, but it just sounded so adventurous and romantic, and an artist in Paris. It was, but I got there. When your expectations meet reality, it's always a different story. I ended up in this little dumpy hotel near, where the heck was that? I can't remember right offhand. I think near Bastille, a dumpy little place. And I remember the first night I got there, I was jet lagged, and I thought, what am I doing here? How am I going to even start? I just landed, in the middle of the city. I don't have that much cash, and I'm just going to start a new life here. Have you lost your mind? So the next day I went and scoped out the scene, what's going on, and I heard that it's either Beaubourg, it's either Léal, it's either Saint-Germain-des-Prés. It's where else were they working? Montparnasse, some other places as well. So I scoped all these places out and decided I'd start at Beaubourg, because Beaubourg, there were already a lot of street artists there. There was Philippe doing the automat, not Philippe. Oh my God, Gilbert. He was like one of the first guys. He was doing the robot in front of this big pipe, one of the first big pipes you see when you go down into Beaubourg. It's like the best place in the whole, for a guy who's going to do the robot or magic. That's the best place, because everybody's going through, walking right by. So I just, I thought, well, I'm going to go in and start my stuff. And basically nobody liked me because I was new. The other artists didn't like me being there. I got in a fight with a magician, some crazy. I think he was from. I don't know. I think he was German. Actually, he was German.
So it's hostile, the environment. It
Oh,
wasn't
totally
welcoming.
hostile. Oh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I mean, I've been lucky in London. I've been welcomed.
There's fire eaters. There's sword swallowers. There's guitar players. There's there was a guy, an African guy, that had all these plastic tubs and was playing on these plastic tubs. It was intriguing and at the same time a little scary. And I was just, the guy out of town, and it's like, ça va pas marcher comme ça. You got to, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? Are you even any good? Because we've been playing here a long time. You just can't come in and decide you're going to take a space. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Did anyone take you under the wing?
No. No. I remember Gilbert being nice to me. He said, well, David, just, wait till a spot opens up and, go at it. So it was complicated because, you got a fire eater just doing his thing, and then you got a sword swallower doing his, you got people who are singing. So you go, oh, where am I going to squeeze in here? Because the thing you don't want to do is steal somebody's audience. Because then you're going to start having problems, Then you're going to start having problems. I've seen some real bad fights break out. But I was respectful as I possibly could be. And, the first week was really tough because I was fighting to, figure it all out. I didn't just trying to figure it out. How am I going to make this work? And then finally I started getting crowds. And once I started getting crowds, oh, and by the way, there was a huge window. Behind the window were black curtains. So it was like a perfect mirror. So I was constantly practicing my technique. All the time, between shows, practicing the wall, walking against the wind, trying to learn a style of movement. To move. How am I going to move?
Yeah.
The whole concept of point fix, and how am I going to integrate all these ideas of mime and pantomime But I was really doing guerrilla theater. My whole thing was, getting in everybody's face, and in a big way. So the more I got in people's faces, the more outrageous I was. Bless you. The more outrageous I was, the bigger the crowd started getting. And the bigger the crowds, the more fearless I became and did more outrageous stuff. And so I became this crazy guy, this clown that will do anything. I mean, he's nuts. I got to watch this guy because he's crazy. So I would, and it was all improv stuff, and with stuff that would work, I'd keep it, and remember the timing of it, how I set it up. And, when you're doing like 6 shows a day, every day, day after day, you start unconsciously, unbeknownst to you, you start to develop a really powerful style, a style of movement, a technique, a way of dealing with people. And so repetition is the name of the game. Matt just disappeared again. It's gone. So we have people here talking to me. Hello. There's Sonia Frisch, Alexander Frisch. Sasha is there, Katrin, Sonia, Katrin, Oksana, Anastasia, Matthew Keys. Cool. People are watching. By the way, everybody, I'm going to be doing online. I have a new website. It's not finished yet, but you could check it out. www.david/shiner.com. I'm setting up for seminars, workshops, mentoring. Mentoring, I do a lot of mentoring, helping people with finding good ideas, creating new material. So go on my website and check it out. www.david-shiner.com. And there's stuff in there about what I'll be doing. Anybody have any questions? I can read them here and I can answer them. Can you guys still see me and hear me? Hey, loving this so far, Liam. Thank you. Mon ami, je suis très heureux. Moi aussi, Sacha, c'est très bien. T'es à Marseille, t'es chez toi maintenant. Sacha, t'es où? No, you guys don't hear me. How do I talk to you guys? Oh, Frisch doesn't hear me. Why? He doesn't have a mic. He doesn't have a headphones or what? Can you guys see me and hear me now? Oh, cool. Hello, Catherine. Are any of our other good friends there, Catherine? Anyways, I'll continue without Matt. 30-second delay or so. Okay, then.
How you doing? Sorry about that. My apologies. So what's happening is a very, very hot day here, and my poor little laptop keeps overheating and turning itself off, trying to say.
You got a little fan? Got a little fan or something?
I'm doing that. I've opened the windows around it, but I'm in this catch-22 that if I open the windows fully, I become completely saturated with light.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to halfway measure here and keep it wafted by the window while keeping the curtain down. Let's see. Fingers crossed, hopefully that'll be the last time this happens.
It's all right. So, So, I was just, working the crowds every day. And I have to say it was one of the most exciting times of my life because imagine this, you're going out every day. You get to do what you love doing. I mean, it was just so much fun. The idea of creating street theater and doing it all through improv, and just working with people that were there. And there were, there's so much, it's just so rich and creative because everybody's different. I mean, you're working with so many different people, housewives, bankers, guys out of work, people out of work, drug addicts, Hell's Angels. I mean, everybody was hanging out there. So it gave me the opportunity to really learn how to work with all kinds of different people who hated you, people who thought, you were really cool, people who just wanted you to leave them alone, people who were having a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, and what I got really good at was getting close to people and making them feel uncomfortable and getting to feel what they were like. Who is this person? And I started to move like them. And then it became really scary for them because they saw themselves. I became a mirror. And the more frightened they became, I started playing that. I started becoming them. And I did that so many times every day for years that I could really, I didn't have to walk behind anybody. I could just stand next to them. And I was them, which was so cool because you'd laugh your head off. And once I was them, I could start playing with them. The trick was always, how can I get these people or this person to like me really fast, to really like me, to go, oh, I can trust this guy. He's fun. He's just not, an egomaniac trying to make me feel bad, but he's somebody who's actually nice. And, how do you win their trust? That's the name of the game. How do you win their trust in a very, very short period of time? And, when I think back to, those years, when I think back, I realized what I was doing was, first of all, I started out as an angry clown. I was angry, I didn't know why I was angry. I was just, you got to see this clown. Nobody does clowning like that. The guy's pissed off at everybody, which was funny because if you show an enraged clown, a clown that's, look, you're really pissing me off because of the way you're looking at me right now. You're really pissing me off because you just pushed me. What'd you push me for? Stop, hey, you just stepped on my foot. Why, he was always getting upset. But not only that, but showing all the emotions, right? So I think it was wonderful for me because I had the feeling I was just taking people's masks off. Because I didn't have a very fun childhood. My father was quite angry. He eight children. My father was a truck driver, and then he was a wonderful man, but he had a lot of anger. And growing up as a kid, Colorado, the public schools were awful. I hated school. I absolutely hated it. I just felt like you couldn't really you couldn't tell anyone your feelings. You just had to keep your mouth shut and do what everybody said. And there were a lot of cowboys. I got in a lot of fist fights. I hated school. I skipped school all the time. But I was, anyways, living in this fear of living with so many years of people not really showing their true feelings. Wow, I'm a clown. I can actually rip their masks off and say, hey, let's show some feelings. Let's do something ridiculous. But please don't show me this bullshit smile or this angry face or this. Let's just play and have fun. Let's just drop the whole thing and let's let it loose. Because we're all so uptight and so freaked out all the time. And to play the clown. No one wants to admit it. No one wants to admit it. And then suddenly to be such a liberating feeling, to be the fool, the idiot, the complete moron who's going to make mistakes. He's going to fall on his face. He's the everyman. I could be whatever the hell I wanted to be. I could finally let all these feelings out, that have been kept buried and locked inside. Especially our generation, it was just terrible, man. Going to school wasn't easy. So, getting close to people, coming back to trust, to getting their trust. Yeah. And I realized what I was doing, the way I was getting their trust, because I was hit them with my hat. I was like the clown that would hit people with his hat. He'd do shit. He'd take a woman's purse and, give it to somebody else. He'd take some guy's wallet and start handing his money out. And throw the wallet to somebody else. But I always knew people would never keep the money. They'd always give it back to the guy. They always would. Because there was this kind of sacred space. We're now allowed to be an idiot like this guy. We're now allowed to be whatever we want to be because this is what it is right now. This is the energy that's happening. And that was the beauty of street theater. You could, weave a whole world of feelings and emotions that had been long forgotten through the clown, through the character of the clown, and that every emotion has purpose and is needs to be shown
and dealt with. And dealt with.
Yeah, embraced. Embraced. So
this thing about how they train police officers. When police officers first go in to be trained, they say, look, you're going to find people dead on the toilet. People die on the toilet. And they get all the police officers to sit around and tell jokes about people dead on the toilet. And it's the way the police officers emotionally cope with horror.
I get it. I get it. Laughter is, it's so cathartic. To laugh, because we're just like carrying around a 5-ton weight that's been there since our childhood. It's all repressed stuff. Just tons of it.
Just an interesting thing about childhood and these repressed things. Did you find your father coming out of the character?
Absolutely. Oh, Frank. Yeah. I was Frank Shiner. I was the tough guy. I was, I would really have fun with guys that were like real badasses in leather jackets with lots of tattoos. Really, they're really high and looking for trouble. Man, I'd get right in their faces. I knew.
And how did you deal with that then? What was your techniques for
I would just be a badass
and being safe?
I'd be a badass, start pushing them around. So come on, let's get it on. Or drive up on my invisible motorcycle and get off my motorcycle.
There's more to it than being a badass. There's more to that because they're trying to be badasses and you're not doing what they're doing when you go up to them. There's something else there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, it's it's when you hold the mirror up and it's like, guys, what I realized I was doing was, hey, there was this desperation in me to want all of us to reveal our shared humanity, to reveal our shared humanity, our vulnerability, our fear, our hope, our sorrow, our rage, or whatever it is, but that we're just people that, we all need the same thing. We all desire the same thing. We all desire to be seen, to be loved, to be understood, to be respected, to be honored, to be cherished. And I think all the things that I guess were missing in my childhood, it was the opportunity for me to give it to them through this rage, through this embarrassment, through this, insane character that was just the anarchist, the total anarchist, breaking all the rules enough to bring it down to a shared humanity, that what is really going on here is that I see you and you see me. We're in this whole bloody mess together. There's this shared feeling of love and respect, and I think that was the way to get their trust so quickly. Was to show that I'm just like you are. I have no judgment for you. I just want to have fun. I just want us all to really laugh at this whole ridiculous thing that's going on. I'm just going to be the conductor. I'm going to conduct the thing, get the thing moving. But we're going to laugh together. We're going to laugh together and share this together. So it's always a breakdown. For me, it was unconsciously, when I look back, on these years of it, I'm writing a book about it. Not just that, but my career. Is the that every step I'm taking unconsciously, every step I'm taking is a way to connect, so that the loneliness will go for all of us, so that we all understand we're not alone. That life is, it's not easy. It is not easy. It's full of joy and sorrow, but unfortunately a lot of sorrow. And, to feel alone in that is a horrible thing. And to be able to laugh together and to express our feelings and allow ourselves to do things that normally we don't allow ourselves to do. It's liberating. It's God,
as well as the communal experience.
Yeah, it's a communal experience. I'm not that guy or that woman I thought I was. I'm something more. And that's what the clown should be doing, is provoking us to see that we are more. We're living in.
The show is. I've just got to count to 3 on the screen. I'm not sure why I got that. Hopefully we're still live and everything's okay. Let me double check. It looks like we're still live. Hopefully we are. Christ, it's been a technical nightmare, this interview, hasn't it? So you're in France. You've developed the show. The show has become a successful, functional, working show. You're developing interesting work. You personally are finding it interesting and valuable. What goes from here?
Well, first of all, I developed a cinema number on the streets. That became the thing. I do all the improv to get a crowd, and then I do the cinema number, and that was the big,
finale.
It was gnarly and fun. People laughed till they cried. I was merciless, and but always done with love and respect. That's the thing. I remember somebody wrote me on Facebook. He said, "Oh, I remember seeing you back in Paris in 1982 at Beaubourg." He said, "What struck me was that how could this guy be so aggressive, hitting people with his hats, and so angry and so upset at everything, and so many different emotions, and people loved him for it." And I thought, yes, of course, because, we're not lying to each other. All those feelings exist within all of us, So the cinema became that thing. It's like all the experience I took, really all the improv and movement became that number, ended up.
And how did you write that number? How did it evolve?
Like I said, in Boulder the first time in 1980 was just, picking some people out of the audience.
Yeah. So this routine began back then. And so it's not, because I got the impression, and maybe it's my mistake, that in France, that's where this routine got really honed and developed, and it became It became the finish of the show, the climax. So to speak.
That's right. But I first started experimenting with it back in Colorado in 1980. That's right. And then I took the idea further. When I got to Paris and playing 6 shows a day, every day for a long time, it turned into an act. It turned into like a 15, 20-minute act. So, the streets, the thing about working the streets is you become very vulnerable because you got to be very aware of other people's feelings. You got to be super hyper vigilant that people are having a good time and they're not being hurt, they're not being disrespected, that everyone's, and of course I made mistakes.
Do you get this thing as well? I've had this instance where it seems like a lot of people are having a good time and you're doing a piece of material, but then you notice a small group are interpreting the material in a way no one else is and laughing in a way no one else is. And I'm thinking particularly young men. Young men watch you do a joke and they'll take it as they'll laugh at the abuse of it. And then you have to try and deal with that dynamic.
Yeah, but I never did that. I just let them do what they wanted to do and just did the number, once you've got the number, you know how you're going to do it because it works every day. And, but I made mistakes like you always do. You make mistakes, and I would go home and feel guilty, because oh God, did I hurt that person's feelings? Did I go too far? And probably I beat myself up often too much. But a lot of performers that involve people.
Maybe that's why you're in the position you're in now. Is because you beat yourself up a lot. I'm a believer that, performers who go home and tear themselves to pieces tend to go out and do a better piece of work.
Oh, of course. You always, you've got to be a good critic of your stuff, even, if it hurts. But, so the cinema thing, and then, the street was starting to get to me. I was starting to get tired. I was starting to, okay, well, now what, David? You're going to stay here for the rest of your life? What are you going to do? And about this time, a woman from the New York Times was coming doing an article on street performers. And she said, have you ever heard of Bill Irwin? I said, no. She said, oh. She gave me a tape to look at. A show that he was doing in New York called Regard of Flight. And it was like, it just cracked my head open. I thought, holy, this guy's doing clowning in a theater, a legitimate theater. And he's not using the audience. He's just doing this brilliant stuff, and he moves. He has an unbelievable technique of movement. Never seen anything like that in my life. He was just wonderful.
And was he schooled in that movement?
He studied dance, but he originally
dance to say.
He studied dance, but he originally, and he studied clowning, and but he just was that time. When I saw that video, I thought that's the best clown in the world. That's the guy. There's no one. Holy hell. And so that also gave me a kick in the behind to, okay, David, it's time to move on. You always wanted to work in the theater. Now let's work in that direction. So I guess, but anyways, so I remember doing one show. It happened to be my last show for one particular reason, and I was doing the show, and right in the middle of the show, somebody jumped off of a board and landed next to my show.
Wow.
And there were a lot of like drug addicts that worked there and people out of work, and they came every day, these people, and they were just so sweet. They laughed their asses off every single day, every show. And and it just, you can't imagine what that does to you, because you're doing something it's trying to celebrate our life, try to heal the wounds of our life, trying to help us embrace our own pain, to laugh, to celebrate our humanity in all of its good forms and all of its horrific forms, so that we can be closer together. And then something like that happens, and you just think, well, I mean,
it must have been a very, very difficult thing. You know, I take it there was a time of shock and a time of trying to. It seems like even to this day, it's something which you carry very heavily with you.
Well, it broke my heart. You know, I just couldn't. It broke my heart. That's all I can say. It broke my heart because here this whole thing about celebration, and then someone who just said, "No, I can't anymore. I can't anymore." And I thought, God, man, I have. Anyways, that was my last time at Babur. That was my last time. And,
yeah, understandable.
But
so after that, did you leave France? Did you stay in France?
I did leave France. I did the Cirque du Soleil.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting hired to do the Circus Roncalli in Germany. I did 1 year there.
Wow. And what was that experience like? I mean, if you want to take a minute, you can do.
It was great because, I went from being just nobody on the street to being a big circus star, big circus star. And it never really registered, because I was bringing in this whole style. I mean, at the Cirque du Soleil, the jury wanted to throw me out. Okay. Because I was doing, you don't go into the audience, you don't take people's wallets.
Just for people who don't know, can you explain a little about Cirque du Soleil?
Cirque du Soleil, yeah, sorry. Cirque du,
no, it's fine, it's okay.
It was founded by Dominique Mauclair and his wife. I don't know what year it was founded, but it's a festival for young artists at the circus. And the days when I was there, it was always held in the Cirque d'Hiver, which was a permanent circus in Paris. Beautiful, beautiful place. And they'd invite young artists from all over the world to come and perform. And you had to be under a certain age. I can't remember what the age was.
So it's like a scholarship scheme or something like this for circus.
No scholarship. They would give awards, medals, Okay. But all the circus directors and variety theater directors, they were all there. So it was a showcase. Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I just, Dominique saw me on the streets and said, "Oh, you want to do the festival?" I said, "Sure." I didn't even know, I was on the streets. I was this gorilla. And suddenly I was
Were you doing gigs on the street intermittently? Were you doing like the odd gig here? Someone would say, "Oh, you're great. Can you come and do this?"
Yeah, I remember doing something in Israel. They were having a festival there. I went with some street artists, and I went to Tokyo with some street artists. That was about it.
So when you went to this competition, maybe it had a feeling of this is another gig kind of thing. I do these kind of things occasionally. I'm going to go and do this. It didn't feel like it was particularly life-changing. I mean, I'm saying something as a statement, but I'm asking a question.
Oh, you mean in the circus?
Yeah. So when
that was life-changing. That was life-changing because
did you see it as that when you went there, when you were going there? So the experience of David Shiner going from the street, going to this place, was it kind of you didn't see it as being the thing it was going to be for you?
No, it was a big deal. No, I mean, that was one of my problems was I never really understood how much talent I had. I was just because I was very insecure, a lot of artists are. Yeah. But, you learn to get over that. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was hoping. I mean, before we move on from the circus, I would go to the south of France also in the summer. I go to Avignon, Aix-en-Provence, usually to Avignon. And I loved working there because it was a festival in July. It was hot as hell, but I'd work in front of Palais des Papes every night. Huge crowds in nighttime. It was gorgeous. It was so overwhelming. It was because everybody was there for theater. Everybody. They wanted to see theater.
So they're culturally savvy.
Yeah, culturally savvy. And I just loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Did you get a similar experience that I've had before? That when you go to the festival, you get to stretch your legs. You think, now I can try the more complicated material, the stuff that needs you to be a little bit more switched on. You can be a bit more, I'd say you can be a bit more experimental, but it sounds like you were very experimental all the time anyway. But I've definitely found this thing that when you have that culturally savvy crowd, and the work can become more like a stage piece almost, Well,
it was. I mean, Palais des Papes, there was this huge wall in the front where the steps would go up. The steps would go up into the entrance. So I'd be
Yes.
working with people as they went in, and also when they came out, I'd be playing with them. And then while the theater was going on, I'd be doing my stuff out front. I'm getting these huge laughs with the cinema that Ariane Mushkin of Théâtre du Soleil came out one night and said, "Arrête, c'est un peu trop fort. On peut pas jouer là. C'est trop fort. It's too loud. You know, the laughing is too loud. Can you bring it down?" I said, "I don't know how I can bring the laughing down, but I'll try." It was funny.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was great. So all of this ends up in the circus.
Yes.
And I'm going, well, wait, I'm a street guy. How do I do, how do I integrate this stuff into a one-ring circus? How do I do that? How am I going to do this? So, the first few weeks were really tough. But I finally got the hang of it, and I did really well.
Why were the first few weeks tough?
Well, it's all new for me. We're doing like 12 shows a week.
Wow.
I hated that. Well, not in the beginning. I loved it. The more I could play, the more I could learn, the more I could develop.
So you're still playing. It hasn't become a regimented, choreographed piece at this point.
No. I still had improvised stuff. I always improvised. Oh yeah.
And so did they were you through a long training process? Or did they see you there and say, right, we like what you did, and slot that work into the circus?
No, Bernard Paul discovered me there. I mean, look, most of the jury wanted to throw me out of in Paris because I was hitting people, I was stealing their money. Il faut pas faire ça. You can't do this. They had their concept of what clowning is. These circus directors had their concept. A clown is this. And
what was the concept at that time then?
Oh, nice. They're sweet. They're lovable. They're innocent.
Is it like the idea of the Christian clown, the American Christian clown?
I don't know what that is.
I was told by a friend that the reason we see clowns now as having green hair and red nose and the white face and the very, very colourful garb and the way that they are in kind of cheesy Hollywood movies and things, that whole thing came from a Christian clown movement.
No.
In the 30s.
No, this was like French. This was European clowning. This was the two Dom Auguste and the white clown. Monsieur Royal.
Yes.
Basically the dad with the two stupid kids. And they have a lot of routines that have existed for many, 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 many years. Hundreds of years. And I was coming and breaking the whole thing because I had no notion of the history of circus. I knew nothing about it. So I was just this gorilla that a 10,000-pound gorilla that came in and went nuts, and they wanted to the festival. I mean, except one guy, Nikolai Yuri, a Russian clown, said no. This. Someone told me who was there. Said no, we cannot throw him out. This young man is the future clown. The future clown. They must have thought, Nikolai, you're drinking too much vodka. This guy's crazy. He's crawling over people. He's dragging them into the ring. He's hitting them. He's stealing their money. This guy's, he's...
None of them got this reference from the street then.
No.
Which is surprising, because you expect the circus guys to understand the street, and to get this cross-reference, but I suppose they're separate worlds, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very separate worlds. But but the thing was, it was a logical step from the streets to the circus, right? Yeah. It was a logical step. If I had gone from the streets into the theater, I would have died instantly. It would have been over.
Why do you think that?
Because theater it requires a whole different mindset. It just requires a whole different approach, a whole different understanding. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did Roncalli. We did 12, it was 12 shows a week, and it was great in the beginning. By the end, I was exhausted because what I didn't really understand was you had to pace yourself. And I was giving 200% every show. Okay, the afternoon shows you'd hold back. But at that time, Roncalli was selling out, like crazy. It was like the circus, then back in the late 70s, early 80s. I was there in 84. And it was a beautiful circus. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous, poetic, lovely. It was wonderful.
And so when you were working there, did you have friends? Was it a friendly environment? Was everyone buddies?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, They were friendly. I didn't have problems with anyone, but a lot of people, came from circus families in different circus. And so they had a different approach to the whole thing. And I was still kind of I was the outsider. I felt like an outsider. I did feel like an outsider.
And what was their circus family approach? When you said they have a different approach, what do you mean by that?
Well, they've grown up in the circus. And so someone like me comes along, I'm not European, I'm a street artist. I have this, the style of work that is kind of, they're getting used to it, like everybody is. But actually, I didn't have, they were all very respectful and friendly, good people. I can't say anything bad about them. Why would I anyways?
No, of course not. The only thing I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to paint as detailed a picture of the world.
Well, I guess from my perspective I felt like an outsider because I didn't know anything about the circus, and these people grew up in the circus. So for them, it was home. For me, it was, how am I going to figure this out? How the hell am I going to do 12 shows a week? All my freedom is suddenly gone. I could go out on the streets whenever I wanted to. I could, it was raining, I stayed home. After a show, we'd go out to, a nice bar somewhere and have some Beaujolais and laugh our heads off. About the day, That was the other thing about working the streets. We had a camaraderie. And Rene Bazine was also on the streets at that time. Fantastic clown, brilliant clown. He had these epic parties in this little apartment in the Marais. What was the name of the street? It's a small street very tiny street between the Latin Quarter and Saint-Germain-des-Prés. He had a second-story flat. When you walk down that street on a Saturday night in the summer, you could smell all the dope coming out of Rene's windows. And the place was packed with poets, writers, street artists, singers. It was just, it was a tiny little flat. It was packed to the brim. Rene would answer the door wearing some buffoon costume, stoned out of his mind. It was something else, man. And there was a great camaraderie. We would meet. We talk about the problems we had. We'd share our stories together. How much did you make today? How were the crowds?
Was there a sort of work? Because I know a lot of time when I go to the pub with guys now after a day of doing shows, in a similar world to what you're describing, there's a little bit of workshopping that goes on in the bars. People say, "Oh, well, this happened," and they say, "Oh, well, have you thought about this? Have you tried this? Have you tried that?" It almost becomes a school. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. You have a problem, you talk to them, someone would have a solution for it. Did you try this? No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It was like,
that was one of my big arguments against having licensing, because if you get licensing, you get rid of the cue, you get rid of the culture of the people communicating the pitch, and then suddenly a whole school, a whole learning, apparatus that was there for the performers disappeared.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, that's too bad. The problem is once you do away with the permits, you get people out there that are not artists. They're just, they're coming out with their guitar and they're just making noise, whatever they're doing, and ruining it for everybody else. So
I will say, as a counterpoint to this, and I don't want to get into too much of a debate on this at this moment. Maybe we can do it later. I'd like to get more of your story out here. I was rubbish when I began. I was absolutely terrible, and I learned on the street. And I think if you have that quality cut off at the beginning, you wouldn't have people like me. The people who
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I'm not saying
maybe people like yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not saying I'm all for permits. I'm just saying, there were times those people that you knew did not have a future. They did not have a future. They were just taking up space, ruining it for everybody else. And that's the thing. If you can't communicate with these people, go, hey, look, you can play, no problem. Let me finish my act, and you can have my space. How much time do you need? You communicate. But these people would just come in and, just ruin it. And, I saw a lot of, I saw one incident. I know we're jumping back and forth.
It's okay.
I saw one incident before. Two guys got in an argument. There was this big African guy who was doing drumming, and there was this other Arab guy doing sword swallowing and fire eating. And the Arab guy got really angry at the African because he was playing too loud just when he was about to do his show. So they got in this big argument. So this guy goes back to his pitch and pulls out a sword and approaches the African with a sword, right? He's gonna start a fight with a sword. And the African man, he was huge. He just stood there and looked at him. Just stood there looking.
Like, really?
Really? Are you really gonna? Really, you want to do this? And I could see the guy get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and walked away. But anyways, yeah, there's tons of different stories like that. So
yeah,
I'll let you lead.
Yeah, by all means. So we're in the circus now, and you're working there. You're doing 12 shows a week. What do we go from there? How do we move on from there then?
Well, I couldn't work for a year after that. That's what I said. I was doing 12 shows a week, and I didn't know how to pace myself. And then I had
you burned out.
I was burned out. I had a burnout. That was scary because when you get burnout, first of all, you have no energy, and you have no psychic energy, no psychological energy. So you feel you have a lot of anxiety, and your nerves are shot. It's like a nervous breakdown. Your nerves are shot. You can't take any stress. So it took me a year to get over that. A year. I learned the hard way. And then
was it complete recuperation? Was it like in a room on your own, or in a beach, or?
Well, I had met my present wife there in the circus in '84. And so I was staying with her in Solingen, Germany. I just, you get through it. I didn't know anything about psychology or think about getting into kind of, in retrospect, I should have been in therapy. I should have, gone to a psychotherapist, and they said, hey, whoa, you need to calm down. You need to stop working. You need to do this. You need to go on a cure somewhere, go in the mountains, give me a list of things to do. But luckily I was with Mika. It was a safe environment, and she had lots of horses. And so I was, in the stables every day, shoveling shit and getting.
So you went and lived on a farm and shoveled shit for a year.
Well, it wasn't a farm, but yeah, more or less.
Yeah. And so what happened after that then? How did we get back on the horse?
I got hired by Circus Knie, the Swiss National Circus, which was a lovely experience. I did that for a year. And after that, I was contacted by Cirque du Soleil.
Wow.
Guy La Liberté.
Were they as big then as they are now?
No, this was in the very beginnings. This was like I was in this was like 1986. 1986. Yeah, I was in Los Angeles or something. Anyways, I met Guy La Liberté. He invited me to come to Toronto to look at his circus, wanted me to join. And I told him, I said, I'll keep you in mind. But I'm in Europe right now. I'm going to stay here for a while. So we hooked up again later on, and I did. That was 1990. They went through the roof in. When did they go through the 87? I'm losing track of time now. 87 was it? I think in 1987 they went to the roof in Los Angeles. So I joined them in 1980. 1990. Yeah, 1990 for their second show. And it was fantastic. You know, it was like, you know, they had Cirque Reinventé just went to the roof. And so Guy wanted to do something different. Franco Dragoni was there. I was there. And it was really cool because we were all pitching in and we were all giving our ideas. I was the main character. Somehow I ended up becoming the main character. I wrote myself in it. I worked with the clowns. You know, I wrote the story for it. I did some of the directing. You know, I was really an integral part of the show. And you're gone again. Anyways, that show went through the roof as well. Hi, everybody. So Matt is gone again. Do I use ballet pas in my practice? What are those? Do you mean ballet bars? What is that, ballet bars, in my practice? I can answer that if I know what it is. A lot of this is in Russian. Matthew is still listening. Where are you? Where are you, Matthew? Where are you living? So, hi, still listening. Okay, you're still listening. Great. So, Nouvelle Experience was just, you know, this magical show, which really sent Cirque du Soleil into the stratosphere. And I'm just so, you know, thankful that I was able to be a part of that. So, Matthew is from Edinburgh. I work on the Royal Mile usually. So tell me, what is the Royal Mile? Forgive my ignorance, Matthew. Oh, ballet steps. Ballet steps. Yes, I worked with ballet. Yes, I studied ballet. In clown training, what's vitally important for me, I think for anyone who's serious about clowning, is to learn to dance. Dance, you know, whether it's tap dancing or ballet is great just for form and control. I would say the two strongest thing is hip hop, ballet, tap dance, whatever you have fun doing. Learn that and learn all the techniques of miming, because if you combine all of those things together, you start to develop a really beautiful style of movement, which is very vital. How did you get inspiration for creating sketches on the streets? I'm a clown too. I do a lot of following and observations. Well, creating sketches on the street are hard. I mean, you just try different ideas. That's all. You got an idea and you just try it. And if they like it, they'll show you. If they don't, they'll leave. It's a hard way to learn, but that's, you learn very quickly. So there's no magic formula for creating sketches, but that's something I do teach, is how to find good new ideas. Because there is a very particular way of doing that, so you don't drive yourself crazy with a lot of thinking. The worst thing you can do for a great idea is think about it. It's got to, my experience is always, it's got to come from who you are, deep within your own unconscious. Who am I? What do I want? What am I doing? Your life, what has your life been like? What have you experienced? Yeah. Oh, the main pitch. Cool, Matthew. Cool. I've never been to the festival in Edinburgh. I absolutely have to do that. Jeremy also answered it for. Royal Mile is the road that leads up to the castle at the top of the. Okay, cool. I absolutely need to go there. Um, so I've developed a certain style of a way of teaching, which is based in sound and movement. My whole teaching, I know I'm going way off, I'm going into a totally another subject here, but I just thought I'd mention it since someone asked about how do you get ideas for sketches. Ideas for sketches are, observing humanity, observing people, but also mostly important, observing yourself. How do I feel about things? The biggest enemy for any artist trying to create new material is not being in touch with your own feelings, especially your own vulnerability. Not really looking at the things you don't really want to look at. Jung called it the shadow self. I call it embracing your shitstorm, the shit that's there that you don't want to look at. That's where the gold is. Great ideas come through personal suffering. Okay, there's a long list of things. I don't want to get into all of that now. Yeah, Matthew, I will come. Absolutely. So, Sasha, why are you writing me in Russian? You can write in English or French. Katrin also. Wiggling my finger out of control? I don't know. I got angry at some. You're back. I got angry at somebody once and just started doing that. These aren't things you conceptually think about. They're just emotional reactions, and that's where the ideas come from, the emotions. Okay, Matt, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
I need to take these out for a second because they're killing my ears. Hold on.
Yeah, by all means. So what a professional from David filling in. I don't know what he said, but thank you so much. I've never had so many technical issues with the video. It's been a fun time.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so where were we up to? We were up to you just
Nouvelle experience, Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
And so we were doing Cirque in New York, and someone told me, hey, did you know that Bill Irwin's in the audience? We were doing Nouvelle Experience in New York. I said, what? Bill Irwin, my hero, the #1 clown in the world, the genius. He actually won a Genius Award.
Wow.
The MacArthur Foundation Genius Award. Yeah, it's brilliant. So I said, look, get the usher and make sure Bill comes backstage during intermission, because we have this big, at the Cirque shows, there's a kitchen. Everything's set up for the artists. I mean, nobody takes better care of their artists on tour than Cirque.
Wow.
So, I met Bill. He came backstage, and I felt like just this drooling fan. I said, hey, you think we can meet for coffee or something? He said, yeah, sure. So we met, and so I'm making a jump from Cirque du Soleil to the next thing, which is New York.
Yeah.
Met Bill, and we hit it off. He took me over to his office. He had hats everywhere, all kinds of different hats everywhere. I thought that was so cool. I love hats, and a lot of really cool clown hats. And there was a really huge stovepipe black, really big one. Do I have it here? Well, hold on.
Yeah, go. The working with Bill was absolutely beautiful. I managed to check a bit today.
It looked like, can you guys see this? Looked like this, right?
Yeah.
But a lot bigger. And I said, oh, this is really cool. I tried it on. And the next day I get a knock on my hotel door, and they deliver me this big box. And I open it up, and it's the big hat I tried on in his office.
Oh.
With a note. He said, oh, you look so good in this, I thought I'd give it to you.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. So make a long story short, we ended up doing a movie together, a Sam Shepard film. We played two clowns.
And this is before you'd doubled up.
Yeah. This was like a year later, I guess. After that, we got cast in a movie together. 1990, 2 or 2 years later. Anyways, it must have been 92, 91 or 92. We're in this movie together. And so Sam Shepard says, well, you guys just improvise, you know, some routines, whatever you want to do. So Bill and I start improvising stuff, coming up with ideas, and it was like butter. It was, I do something, he'd react to that. He'd do something, I'd react to that. And suddenly it became silent on the set. And we stopped, and everybody had been watching us for 10 minutes. Because it was so good. It was so frigging good. And, you know, it was like a match made in heaven. I was thrilled out of my mind. You know, I thought, man, this guy, I can't believe I'm doing this with him. I mean, this is Bill Irwin. So I get this call from my agent saying, hey, they want you to do the Serious Fun Festival at the Lincoln Center in New York. I said, you know, I don't have an hour-and-a-half show. You know, I got stuff, but I don't have an hour-and-a-half show. I said, well, I'll call you back. So I said to Bill, hey, Bill, like a little kid, hey, Bill, Lincoln Center wants me to do this show. Let's do it together. And there was a band also doing the movie, the Ray Clay Ramblers, this bluegrass band. Wonderful guys, 5 musicians. And the band can play the music. He must have thought I was crazy. I was like this excited kid. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll get the band to play, and we'll have this great time. Bill said, well, Bill kind of talks like this. Well, yeah, Dave, I'll have to. Yeah, let me think about that. It took him a week, you know. And he said, okay. I said, oh, fantastic. Oh, my God, we're going to do this. So we got together in New York and rehearsed for a couple of days. I put some of my shtick, his shtick, and we created some new shtick together. And we just did 2 nights. It went through the roof. Went through the friggin' roof. So, you know, then it was like we had, in a matter of weeks, we had a producer wanting us to do a show for Broadway. So, you know, and that's when we created Full Moon, which we opened on Broadway in 1993.
And how did you get to the point of taking it to the stage? By that, I mean, you've got an idea, you've got a concept, we've worked some stuff out, we've played, and now we've been asked to do a show. So we really, you know, from my idea, you need to have a sense of what's going on. How does that get developed? Well,
it was terrifying. You know, it was terrifying and fun. I guess I was so naive. The fear didn't bother me that much. I was just kind of naive. I was like, we're having fun. Oh my God, me and Bill, we're having fun. I didn't realize people were investing over $1 million.
Wow.
You know, we have a whole team of people there every day in the rehearsal studio, taking care of our every need.
And so how long are you rehearsing this for?
We did that for at least 8 weeks, I'd say, at least.
And do you have a producer there? I mean, I'm an idiot for this. I've street performed my
we
entire
may have
life.
done it 3 months. I don't know. That's a good question. I can't remember how long. I'd have to ask Bill. But it was long enough to put a show together.
There?
Yeah, we had a producer there. Yeah, we had a producer.
I mean, treat me like an idiot. I'm a street performer. I've never really done big production work. So I'm interested in the nature of the development of it.
Well, we had a very successful producer. He's done, a lot of Broadway shows and off-Broadway. And, we were like the talk of the town. We had just started. It was just a 2-night thing. It was just thrown together. Now we had a lot of time. We had costume designer, set designer, light designer, makeup, the works, right? But we just needed material. But we were having so much fun together. And, we just came up with these routines. And, it somehow took on a life of its own. Bill would have an idea, I'd have an idea, and we just kept working on it. The one thing I was terrified about was bringing people up on stage, because I thought, no, this is Broadway. You do not bring someone out of the audience onto the stage. This is insane. You can't do that. Okay, maybe at the Lincoln Center. Okay, but Lincoln Center, that's close to Broadway, but it worked there. I thought, no, but this is, I know. I was freaked out about this. I kept saying to Bill, I'm worried about this. I don't know, oh God. So it took a long time to get over that fear, I tell you. But,
did you do it the first night, or did you So you got someone out the first night. The routines have people. You doing the door maybe, or
no? After the first night, the fear was gone because it worked. You know, there wasn't people going.
When you broke it?
I'm
when
sorry.
You brought someone out, what do you do? No, it's fine. I'm talking over you. I should be sorry. I was just interested in. You're worried about getting people to come onto the stage. You're taking this street clown kind of dynamic and moving it into Broadway onto the stage. What did you do in the first night to bring someone up? What was the routine?
You know, the thing was, we had such a killer opening. We had a killer opening. I mean, from the get-go, the thing was killer, and it was nonstop. It just was nonstop up to the cinema number, which was the last number. So people were psyched. You know, I wasn't. You know, they were psyched, but
you didn't have to win them over. They loved you by then.
Right. But it wasn't the streets. It wasn't the circus. This was a legit theater. So you better make it work. This cannot fall on its face. This has got to. Wait a second. No. What am I saying? I did the cinema in Cirque Du Soleil in Nouvelle Experience, of course. You know, it was killing in Cirque Du Soleil. But even still, I thought, yeah, but it's legit theater. No. Streets, circus. How are you going to make the leap from that to a legit theater, a place like Broadway? I really, Matt, I was terrified out of my mind. I was freaking terrified. But it worked. You know, it just worked. I just, you know, faced my fear and remembered all the success that happened in the Cirque show.
Did you change it? The problem. Did you adjust it?
I did.
Sorry.
Yeah. Because you know, I had to bring it down a little bit and not make it so over the top. I had to make it a little more theatrical, and slow down. You know, I had to slow down, not move too fast. The problem with New York was I'd get a lot of actors that want to come up on stage. So I had to learn to go, oh, here comes an actor.
And so you stop them. Would you stop actors coming up?
Oh yeah, I do something funny like whistle. Yeah, come on up and look at him and go, no, your tie's stupid. Go away.
And it's the same thing why when you street show, you never pick another busker to be your volunteer because it feels fake.
You're dead. Yeah. You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead, you know. But I developed all kinds of, you know, that's where I really learned how to make the cinema just, you know, become gold. You know, when you're in a legit place like that and it's really intimate, you don't have time to let anything drop for a second because they feel it. It's all, you know, the tension has to always be there, all the time.
So you can't do what you do on the street, like where you turn to a suitcase.
No, it's not. No, you can't relax. You know, it's a whole different thing. You know, you're in a show with a beginning, middle, and end. There's no time for messing around. It's got to work from start to finish, and then you have the finale. You know.
Are the gags for your seminar routine the same every time? So you pick people out who will fulfill those gags? No. So how do you make it so tight?
Well, I have a basic structure, and I did it so many times. Within that structure, it's like a Rolodex. I've got a reaction for no matter what you do. I have a reaction for it, and of course, new stuff because not everybody does the same thing. You know, I get new ideas sometimes, and I mean, Bill started coming on stage when people were really bad. Like if there was a bad guy doing the clapboard, I'd like, you know. Every time he'd do it, I just like be so frustrated. Like, no, you suck so bad you can't imagine. People are crying. They're crying because I'm hating him so much. And then I remember one night I was getting these huge laughs because I was hating this guy so much and he was failing so bad. I just said, go back. Just keep going back. Go back further. And I wanted him off stage. And then Bill got the idea to come out and escort him off the stage, right? I nearly wet my pants because the way Bill did it was because Bill is he's very respectful, you know? So it's this, and he does it with just movement, you know? He's telling a whole very complex story with very minimal movement, which is brilliant. And he's asking this guy to leave and at the same time feeling so bad that he has to do this. Feeling so horrible that he has to, you know, get rid of this guy. People are literally, you look in the audience, they're bending over. Heads are going like this. You know, like, I mean, explaining it doesn't make it what it was, but it was.
No, of course not. But still, I can, at least in my performing mind, I can imagine what it is. You have a set finish time, right? This show runs for, 56 minutes or 1 hour, and that's how long it runs for. It doesn't change. Am I right in thinking that?
What? Yeah, it runs exactly 2 hours. That's it.
So how do you work with beautiful moments like this, where the play is working and this moment's working, and the fact that this guy is messing everything up is gold and it's joy? How do you know when to cut that off and keep your timing tight? Is it just a sense?
Well, it's simple. You never want to go over like 18 minutes. It's max, even if it's.
So you do have wiggle. So you do have wiggle room.
Yeah. Always. No, absolutely. You absolutely have wiggle room. It's never going to be more than 5 minutes longer at the most. But it's usually,
if you're doing more than 5 minutes with a mess up routine, you're kind of probably bleeding it dry by that point, right?
That's right. You got to know when to quit.
Yeah. And so this Broadway show, as far as I'm aware, was quite a hit, yes?
It was a big hit. It won the Tony Award, Outer Critics Circle Award, Drama Desk Award. Played on Broadway 3 separate times. We took it to, we played it on and off until 2001.
And did that change your life?
Absolutely changed my life. I mean, how could it not have? I mean, to go from, the streets to a legitimate Broadway theater with a Tony Award. I remember thinking, if I had a dream, right? Because I heard that Bill was, he did a Broadway show, his own Broadway show. It was called Largely New York. I thought, well, my dream would be to have my own show on Broadway with Bill Irwin. I just thought, forget it, man. It ain't gonna happen. This guy's. But the beauty about working with Bill Irwin was there was this tremendous respect for each other. He loved me as much as I loved him.
Whenever I've seen you guys, you look like you genuinely do get
and
along. And
there's never any competition between us. There's one guy I forgot to mention, which is a big mistake. Rene Bazine. Because I had a show with Rene Bazine.
You didn't mention you worked.
His parties, but Rene was a brilliant artist. He is still a brilliant artist. Rene, I met him on the streets, and we became very close friends right off the bat. God, he made me laugh. He made me laugh. And then we ended up working together. We had our own show together. We called it Aufgedreht, Wound Up. I learned a lot from Rene. He, he studied with Lecoq. But he helped me learn.
What did you learn?
Well, to slow down, to focus on details and not just smash over everything. Because I was doing guerrilla theater. I was just like, breaking bottles.
You were a little anxious, trying to fill all the time. Any space that was empty had to be filled.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were funny together. Rene is a brilliant storyteller, and I think I learned a lot about storytelling with him, using sound effects and point fix and this stuff. Always just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And working with Bill was different. Bill was different, and we were different together. But I must say, I had equal respect for Rene.
They were different.
It was different, and we went different roads. We both went different roads. I went to Cirque.
How was it seeing the contrast between the two? Is there any kind of insights you got from working with one amazing artist in their own right, and then another amazing artist who's amazing in a different way in their own right?
Could you ask me that again, Matt? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just saying, with working with these two amazing people, did you get any insights into the art form, into performance itself, by seeing the differences between the two and the way they operate and the way they see the performance?
Oh yeah, Rene was really brilliant at point fix and storytelling. He had this capacity and sound effects. His forte is storytelling, with movement. We had this really very funny routine about two hunters. And, he helped me learn how to, create the gun and, call the bird. And, I learned about the detail, how important are these tiny details in movement when you're storytelling, using the point fix and, the style of Lecoq. But Rene had mastered the style of Lecoq like nobody else. So, those were precious years that I spent working with him. So by the time I got together with Bill already was telling stories in a different way, But now I had the technique. I had the technique down. I had the point fix was solid. And look, there are a lot of clowns that are hysterical, really freaking hysterical, but they're not storytellers. It's like it's a whole different set. It's just a whole different ball game. Between doing your shtick and then we're going to tell a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and you're going to understand every moment of it.
Yes, it's a much more complex task to achieve, I think.
Yeah.
Because play can be quick and intuitive, but storytelling can't be. It has to be methodical and planned out. Sure.
Oh, yeah, and every movement is studied. Every detail of the movement is studied. Looking, walking, the isolations. That's what was so wonderful about, working all those years in the streets was the hours and hours I spent in front of that window practicing my movement, the pantomime. Once I got the pantomime, there was a very distinct style of movement that was emerging, which was Dave Shiner. It was like, oh, that's how David moves. And Bill Irwin already had it. It was like when you see Bill, you go, that's Bill. Nobody can move like him. But
it's like an accent, isn't there?
What's that?
It's like an accent.
Yeah, well, it's a signature. So like a signature, a really strong signature. I remember Bill is the only guy that can do a routine. That has this routine, for example, he's running in a circle and he trips. And he's really happy. There's a big circle on the stage. He runs and he trips over the same spot. But he's still happy. He runs and this time he has an idea. He's going to jump over that spot. Of course, he jumps over, trips, and falls flat in his face. And it's funny, but more than being funny, it's genius. Because the way he falls and the way he sets it up, it's the human condition. It's the human condition. That's what happens. We're going to fall. Whether you like it or not, shit's going to happen. It's going to happen. Nobody can avoid it. So that that collective understanding, that collective awareness, that's all about the ability to really connect with your audience, because you can only truly connect in a really, really deep way with your audience if you're communicating through the collective unconscious, through the collective, our shared humanity, and our own shared vulnerability. Yeah. So
I agree. So yeah, you're in Broadway, you've done the show. The show's sold out. You're now a star? Are you getting the star treatment? Are you going to these luxury bars? And
we could go into restaurants. No, we're full. But I'll take your name now. Dave Shiner, Bill Irwin. Oh my, of course there's a table. We get tables, we get invited. You're the talk of the town. You're literally the talk of the town. We have this humongous poster on Times Square, me and Bill, holding two umbrellas floating up into the air. I remember standing.
Jay Leno, right?
Yeah. Also,
you had an altercation with Roseanne there, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I mean, I saw it. It was funny as one of the things when I saw it, I was very interested in is the physicality of it. It's something I see people do on the street occasionally nowadays. But it's the changing of the time. So when you began to now, do you think that kind of interaction is still on the table for a performer?
No way. Available? No, absolutely not. absolutely not. But I knew she was going to have fun. You know, I was just acting stupid.
Should we give a bit of context for everyone who hasn't seen it? So at this point, Dave's in the show. Dave and Bill are, I think it was the Broadway one. Was the first Broadway one, or was this a second Broadway one?
It was the one we were doing in Los Angeles at the Doolittle.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're in the show. They've done a routine. It's gone really well. Everyone's loving it. There's lots of clapping, lots of cheering. And then the show sort of draws itself into the chat section of the show. And Roseanne from Roseanne is sat there on the chair. And Dave runs up and I think, would it be correct describing you mounted her?
No. I didn't mount her. I attacked her, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't think
sat on her. I didn't want to make it sexual at all. Oh my God, that'd be horrible. That wasn't my intention at all. It was just let's do something stupid. Let's do something stupid.
Playful. It was funny and it was playful, and Roseanne was playing with it as well. And I find that so interesting to see that play and that being treated as innocent and playful then. And I don't know if people would be able to see that as that now.
Well, you know, that's a complex subject. You know, I mean, even, you know, when we were doing the cinema number, I was always, you know, showing the guy how he had to flirt with the woman, you know, and I'm touching her, you know, but it was never, ever for a single moment anything kind of sexual ever in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, I was a clown. I was playful, you know, it was playful and it was innocent and everybody got it. Yes. Everybody got it. Even when I had to do a little rougher because the guy was stupid. I'm the director. I'm getting frustrated. You're not embracing her the way you should. Let me show you. We get it. Yeah. But I could do that because, again, they trust me. They're going, this guy isn't an idiot. He's not a molester. You know, I've really laughed a lot up until this point, and I'm having fun. So for me, it was always like, hey, we're family. Because at the end of the day, that is the truth. We live in concepts of separation, and they're just concepts. You know, it's called the family of man. Man, of course, including women. Of course, man and woman. We're all part of the same family. I've always seen it like that. Maybe because I grew up with, you know, 7 brothers and sisters. But we live within the illusion that there is separation. And there is no separation. When there's love and respect and shared humanity, there is family.
Yeah, I agree. You can all share in that. So you're a big star. You go into these bars, you go into restaurants, you're telling people at the door, you know, oh, you don't have a table for Dave Shiner. And so what goes after this? This is when you begin working with Cirque Du Soleil after this then? Is this when you start directing and having a more hands-on role in the production of the piece? Yeah,
I did that. You know, we did that on and off 2001. Then I did a Broadway musical. I did, the Susical.
What was the musical? Susical. And did you write it? Were you writing songs?
No. No, I was the Cat in the Hat. I was a star.
Oh, wow. And what was that like to perform? I suppose you've had lots of experience coming up to there now, so it's becoming almost...
Look, I got a call from an agent in New York. I was at home. He said, hey, they want you to audition for a musical, you know, based on the books of Dr. Seuss. I said, no way, I can't sing. No, but they really want you. I said, no, I don't know. He kept calling me. He said, no, David, they really want you to come. I said, look, I'll coming through New York. I'll just go do it for fun. No way I was ever gonna. I thought I've never done an audition for a musical. I'll just see what it's like. Yeah. So I did it. I was awful, and they cast me. Oh man, how am I gonna?
And when you say you're awful, you're awful just like vocally. Vocally, you're struggling.
I didn't know how to sing. I was physically. I did the character great. You know, I could do all that. I could be physical. You know, fall on my face, and they loved that. And but they seemed to think I could sing well enough so they could get me a teacher so I could sing. So they got me a teacher, a really good one, and I learned to sing. You can learn to sing, and I mean it's really amazing. I teach here in Munich, and my students were teasing me. You know, I said, "Hey, I can sing." They said, "Oh, bullshit." Because at the end of every show, I do a show with them once a year, and then we do a song together. They all do a song together, any song they want, pop song. They have to choose a song. They were teasing me one day, and said, "You can't sing, Shiner." I said, "Oh, you want to bet?" we went online and, Susical and musical. So I learned how to sing. And the beauty about that show was I was working around all these the top of the pops in, really great Broadway singers and dancers.
Yeah.
So,
and the quality of the performers there is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I did it. It was okay. But, I thought, no, I'm still a clown. I love clowning and directing. This is what I want to do.
And there's no play, I assume, in this piece. This is you literally performing. You're performing what's written, what's directed, what's put forward. It's the same every single night. Yeah. And did you find that unnourishing, the fact that you didn't get to play?
No, I loved it. I loved it. They wanted me to go into the audience and do some stuff, but I had the text with it. And I said, guys, I can't do this stuff with text, into the audience. And that's not my thing. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I need to physicalize this stuff. And since it is only with text, I can't do it. But, I learned a lot, and but it's not something I would want to do again. I'd love to do a play, maybe Waiting for Godot. I'd love to do that. But we'll see, So anyways, we moved on from that. And then, I met with Guy Lelibete. I always wanted to direct at my own show at Cirque. And, so I always thought, if I could, and this is the kind of show I do if I did, Anyways, he and I had been talking about it on and off over the years, and he said, okay, well, Gilles brought me over to Guy's house, and we had dinner together, and Guy said, okay, do a show. And literally, they basically gave me carte blanche.
Wow.
And it just turned out to be a magnificent show. It's been running for 12 years. It's still going on.
I watched. Sorry, carry on.
And it's still going to go. I don't know. Now after this Corona thing, what's going to happen to any of this? What's going to happen at all in showbiz? Who knows?
Who knows? When I did watch. There's an 18-minute short, I think, which is kind of like the production promo for it. And something that crossed me was how complicated, how many moving parts are in the productions. How do you go about designing people? Do you have it in your head? Do you imagine in your head this complex production, or is it a slow, arduous, brick by brick putting together?
No. The thing is, you have an idea, but you have a brilliant team around you. You just have a brilliant team. And you say, look, I'm looking at something like this, and they do drawings, and they bring it back. Is it like that? No, close. They bring back more drawings, whether it's costumes, set design, music. All the people on that show were just brilliant. I was lucky. And they gave me exactly what I wanted.
It was great. So it was very supportive. You guys were, it's a team of people working around.
Oh, a huge team. And you have production meetings. Right, and you have production meetings every day. You're in a room with like 15 or 20 people.
And so would you have an instance like you say, I want something really, I'm just trying to figure out the levels of interaction. So you'd say, I want something really big after this. And then would there be a brainstorm? Would you sit around and go, right, we could do this, or we could do this, or we could.
Yeah, you'd say, well, but like I'd say, look, guys, this is a kingdom with a king and two fools. And there's this character, a trickster, who's a dreamer and he's unhappy. And he gets pulled into this world, this kingdom called Kuza. And I said, it was, first it starts as a vision of something, and then you go into rehearsals and I like to work with the artists and see what they're doing. I'm not someone who sits and writes. I have an idea, I have my assistant write it down because I can't sit here and write my story. I need to have all my artists in the room, say, okay, and my composer and the music. And I just start looking at stuff. Try this, try that. Let's try a different mood of music here. Jean-François Côté, Jean-François Côté.
So, to use a word, it's a word which is, it doesn't sound nice, but you get all your, by the sounds of it, you get all your ingredients and then you begin manipulating them and moving them around until they're in the composition you like.
Yeah, well, you don't have all the ingredients. You have the artists and you have an idea. Okay, what's going to happen when the king meets the trickster? How's this trickster character? Because there's this trickster character that guides this this innocent character through the world? And how's this trickster going to appear? How do I want him to appear?
And that's collaborative then. So that's between the group then. You
Well,
start
no,
figuring out how to.
No, yeah, I say, look, this trickster needs to appear. I want him to jump. I want the innocent to get a gift box, a big gift wrapped in a box, beautifully wrapped. And he opens it up, and I want this trickster to explode out of the box. Well, how are we going to do that? I said, I don't know, hydraulic springboard or something? Oh, that's complicated. I said, well, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool? I mean, he just explodes out of the box. Wouldn't that be a great opening? And they go, yeah, okay, let us think about it. And then they're brilliant. And they come back and they got this thing that works. And it's, so look, any director who thinks that, he's done it on his own is an idiot. I mean, you've got,
yeah, fair enough.
You just gather a really talented group of people around you, and you're guiding them. But you've got to know where you want to go, and you have to know what kind of emotions you want to communicate to your audience. Like I said, it's always about human connection. So every decision I make as a director is, are we connecting here with the audience? Is the story being understood? Is there enough emotion here?
And how do you judge these qualities? I mean, preparation. If you've not done the show, how are you judging these qualities?
Well, I say, okay, here I want sadness. I want us to feel sad for the young innocent clown who can't get his kite to fly. I want to create a world of loneliness. So we're going to start with a world of loneliness. And I want something magical to happen.
And then you watch the performance, and you guys collectively, the people are watching, 5, 10, however many of you, do you get a feel of it and then go, okay, well, this feels right?
Yeah, I'm just, I also have a choreographer. I say, how can we get a better movement here, with everybody? The movement is too sloppy here. It needs to be cleaner. It needs to be this. I mean, you have the decision. You're giving the ideas, and you have the last decision. So you better be sure you're making the right decision. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you make a wrong decision. But well,
that's akin to every human being on the planet, I suppose, isn't it?
But
we all learn by our failings.
Of course, we fail. Just to fail again and get up. Yeah. Failing is part of the game. But I think the one thing I've learned in all my years of performance, or as a director, or as a teacher, when I'm creating something now, I always say to myself, okay, what's happening right now? Will the audience feel it's part of their world? Will they feel connected to it? Can they sit back and go, hey, that's me. Hey, that's part of my life. How did they know that? How did they know that that's part of me? So if you can do that, you have them. Now they are part of the show. They're not just, bystanders watching something. They're part of the show because they're seeing aspects of their own selves in the show. Again, the collective unconscious. So every decision I make is a stepping stone to, will this piece draw the audience closer together, themselves together? Will it draw them closer together to the artists? Will we all become unified? Through every decision, it's a unifying effect, so that we all, at the end, feel part of a collective awareness of humanity. And I'll give you a small example. At the end of the show, the innocent clown is saying goodbye to all the characters, right? And he's sad because it's really been cool. The whole night has really been cool. He's had a great time. It's been magical. And at the end, they give him a present, which is a brand new kite, a beautiful kite. And the dog brings it out. It's an animal that brings them the kite. Dog is also part of the show. And then they leave. They leave. And he's alone. and it's an experience of real loneliness, and we're sad. Then the kite suddenly starts to flutter, and it flies and flies up higher and higher and higher, and then a little light lights in the kite, and he starts to laugh. He just starts to laugh. Everybody shoots out of their seat. They just shoot out of their seats because I get it. I get it. That light is me. That's me. That's my ascension. Because we all are longing for something. We all are longing for something more. We're longing for. We all know, whether we admit it to ourselves or not, that there has to be more. You know, that there is something that's connecting us. There is this light within us. There is this longing for us to come together, you know, to meet as one, right? So it's a numinous experience. It's a collective numinous experience, and that's what I want to do. That's the only kind of shows I want to do.
Well, it sounds like, and this is one of the things I'm very interested in personally, is work having a purpose above above entertainment, above just the value of sitting, laughing or smiling, work doing something more, and with the artists themselves have this kind of drive to do something more, to affect the world in more than a making a living kind of way. And it seems like, talking to you, one of the threads that we keep hitting back on again is this communion of human beings, this idea of breaking down the boundaries and making people feel together, and there's a sense of oneness. And it almost appears to me like your mission, your kind of your work, your aim from goal from your work is to create these moments, to create this feeling in your audience, to give these sensations for people to take away with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, once you know what your calling is, or the Germans have a great word, ich habe ein Ziel. A Ziel is a destination. I know where I'm going. Once you know where you're going, the job becomes much easier. And if you try to deviate from that because you want to earn money, or it's a bigger paycheck, you're going to get in big trouble, because you're going to get lost, because you're not remaining true to your vision, you know, of who you are as an artist, what you're here to really, what is your message? I mean, not a message in a sense that, you know, it's not a religious message or anything like that, but what is it in my life, in my heart, that I feel very, very passionate about? And for me, it's always been the capacity, the capacity for love. How it's such a mysterious thing, and how deep does it go, and that it is the ultimate thing that truly binds us all together. So that's what needs to be explored for me. How deep can I take that? Because it feels to me, it feels like something that's infinite. It's something that can always go deeper and deeper and deeper. Deeper ways of expressing it, of exploring it, of sharing it.
Yeah. So, Dave Shiner, now, have we got, is there more you want to tell from your story? So we've gone to doing Cirque du Soleil, we've gone to directing. Is there more things that David Shiner has to share from his history?
Well, I'm working on a new show. It's a fairy tale for the stage, for clowns, a fairy tale with clowns, about a hobo whose, you know, his life is a mess, and he falls in love with a ballerina. That's also a show about hope and transformation. Working on a movie. Wow. We did 2 readings of it in Los Angeles and New York. It's about 2 clowns, me and Bill Irwin, who have a clown school in New York. And the bank calls in the loan. They want, you know, we need to come up with $200,000 in 2 weeks, or they're going to take the school away from us. So we decide to rob the bank to get, you know, pay the money back. And the students have to help us. It's really well written, and it's very, very funny. So working on that. And I want to do another show for Cirque, you know. I love Cirque du Soleil, and I heard news, I don't know, I heard that Guy Liberté might be buying it with other people involved. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. I hope so. That would just be so wonderful, because he's.
Well, it's going to be it's going to be a different playing board in a year's time. You know, the pieces are going to move. So it'll be interesting to see where they land. Just an interesting thing about the movie is I think the movie is going to be, my own theory is that we're going to come out of this quarantine, we're going to have a roaring 20s, and then we're going to have a Great Depression. It's going to be like a clock ticking back over the face again. You know, we're going to see the repetition. And so the idea that this movie is coming out at a time where we're going to see people in more hardship than we've seen them in for the majority of our collective living lives. I think the story of two clowns battling finance is a story that will be very well placed in time.
Oh yeah, and I tell you that the script is extremely well written. I mean, we worked on it for 5 years. 5 years. And
how did you get to write a script then? How have you developed that?
Well, I have two very close friends. I have three close friends. One is a director in Hollywood, Dean Pariseau, and Randy and Perry House, who are screenplay writers. And so we all collaborated on this.
And so did you give them the kind of main arc? I want to work on this and that stuff back. So did you send them the main arc, the big beats, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I went over to LA, a bunch of times, and stayed there for a few weeks, and we'd brainstorm. I said, this is basically the story. This is what I want to do, and we'd brainstorm. We'd sit around, we'd sit outside on their big porch, and drink chai tea and eat dal and rice and brainstorm. And it turned out, doing that. And but going back to Cirque, I do hope that Guy Laliberté gets back involved with it, because without Guy, for me, it's always without Guy there is no Cirque. It's just like Guy and Jill. What's that? Did
he have a big driving role in the productions?
But Guy was, the founder. Guy and it was a group of street artists. I should have written down all the names. I'm getting old, so I should have written down all the names. But yeah, it was a group of great street artists that.
And so, when you're saying he's buying it back, did it go to shareholders then? Did it become?
He sold it. Yeah, he sold it. I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Time goes by so fast.
And do you think it was detrimental to the circus for it to be sold, to be taken out of his hands?
Personally, yes, because he was the figurehead. He was the, it was, without Guy in the building, it just, there's just a group of people there that, this nucleus of people that was Cirque du Soleil, and Guy was, the leader. He was the guy, the go-to guy. He was the one, he was the dreamer. I mean, it's like he founded the damn company, Guy Laliberté, and whenever he wasn't there, you just felt it. It was like, oh man, Guy isn't here. When Guy was there, boom, the creative juices were flowing. Everybody was on their toes. Everybody was focused. Shit got done. He just, I hope it works out, because, like I said, there is no Cirque without Guy, without his.
Yeah, fair enough. And the thing that I wanted to talk about this entire interview, but I've held it off a little bit, is talking about creativity on the street. We talked a little bit about this before we went live. And it's something which I find personally very interesting, is looking at the span and the change of time. And you're one of the earliest street entertainers I've had on so far. You and I think Chris Lydon are the
Chris the Piss.
Yeah, Chris the Piss, exactly. Yeah, the two early guys. And I watch you guys. You have very different characters, but I think you both share that desire to test and push and play with the crowd.
Oh yeah, Chris was no holds barred. He's no holds barred. He's like crazy.
Yeah. Wait, Chris. Yes, very much so. I watched him on street about 10 years ago, and it was like it booted open a door in my mind. You can do all these things. You can behave like this. You don't have to nudge and wink and say, "Look, I'm really nice," but like this. No, he was just, I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to construct it crazy. So you see guys like him and yourself in the early 80s developing and playing and experimenting, and there is people behind you, from what it seems. I'm speaking out of secondary information here, because obviously I was born in '84. I hate to make feel old.
Well, I am.
Yeah. I've heard that basically through the 80s, people really worked out what a show was. And the idea of the structure of a show and how you get a crowd and how and where you put in the tricks and where you put in the hat line. And this formula developed through the 80s. And when you get into the 90s and towards the later 90s particularly, this formula seems to have become all there was. You know, every show has this formula now. And it seems unthinkable to have anything but that formula. I've talked for quite a bit on this now. I was just interested in your thoughts on this, on the progression of street and on this thing about creativity as it's moved and changed.
You mean run that by me again in a shorter version? Sorry.
I'll just make it really simple. So we have nowadays, majority of the shows on the street that we see are formula shows. Okay, they'll follow at the beginning. They'll do tricks towards the start. Then they'll do a volunteer routine or something in the middle. And then there'll be a finale on a unicycle with a straight jacket or one of these various props. And that's your street show. And 90% people on the
You just froze.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, we're back. So yeah, my thing of this, my interest in this is like, what's your thoughts on this movement from experimentation once the discovery is done to formula, and how do we get the art back into the street again?
Well, that's the
something
thing.
I'd love to.
That's the thing. I mean, you've got to say, well, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to try something different. Who knows how these things happen? So, someone comes along and goes, oh, they have this need. They got to express themselves. They got to do something. They have this need. And suddenly it's, whoa, have you seen this? I haven't seen this before. We don't know. It just suddenly springs out from nowhere. And that'll happen. That will happen.
On a lot of pitches now is if you walk up and you're doing something experimental that isn't working, people tell you, get out of there, go. It doesn't seem like there's the space and the time to really develop something original. One of the things I tell a lot of the learners now who are coming onto the pitch is I say, don't pick up the hack. Don't do what I did. Don't take the hack and then have to battle against it. Write something original. But it doesn't feel like the culture has that anymore.
Well, if you're speaking specifically about street work, it's hard because people are savvy now. It used to be really fun to see someone mess with somebody. I can't believe he's doing that. Now it's like, we've seen that. Okay, leave me alone. Unless it's somebody who has a really strong, speaking of clowning, someone has a really interesting character, really moves really interestingly, and has great improvisational skills for learning.
Have you seen a chap called Anti-Living Space? Have you ever seen a chap work called Anti-Living Space?
No.
Check him out. Very, very good. He's probably, in my opinion, the best street clown in the world at the moment.
Anti-Living Space?
Yes, and one of the things he has that's very nice is anarchic. It feels anarchic. Even to this day, it feels like anything can happen. Really original, fun routines. But even he is, he's like 50 now. He's in the old guard. And
you froze again.
Which worries me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm not... Go ahead.
No, carry on, buddy.
Well, the thing about the streets, I mean, how long can you do it and maintain its freshness and all of that? I don't have an answer for that because I never wanted to stay long on the streets. I wanted eventually, end up in the theater. So I was always thinking of how can I do that? How can I move forward? How can I move forward? How can I move forward? I was not thinking of, how, in the beginning it was, how can I make my street act better? For me, I was naive. I was just having a good time on the streets. I was, Dave Shiner going crazy on the streets.
It seems like this was a concurrent point. When you say you're having a good time, loads of the guys I talked to back in the 80s, the 90s, They describe it like that. It's a very common description, is that we were having fun. And one of the things people talk about is the interesting difference of when you see people like yourself out there having fun, and then you see the people who didn't leave the street when you left, who are still there now, who have mortgages, and they're not having fun anymore.
No, it's awful. It's awful. It's just sad to see, just sad to see. And look, if things don't loosen up soon, I'm going to go down to, downtown Munich and do my old street show. Well, it won't be the old street show. It'll be a new street show. But I'll put on my stuff, make up the whole thing and go bother people. Probably with a distance, with Abstand. Huh?
I would love to see you bother people. Do you think, I've talked to a lot of buskers, and a lot of buskers have turned around and said that they feel a sense of responsibility right now. That when we come out of lockdown, it's kind of the responsibility of the street performers to get people back to the mode they were before, to mean that we don't have to go through 30 years and a generation until we can feel okay to be in public again.
That's right.
And street performers, they have that responsibility.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much more I can,
Dave, you've been great. Thank you so much. You've talked for over 2 hours and you've told us an amazing story. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights. Really, genuinely appreciate it.
No, thanks.
Carry on.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, my pleasure. Please stay on the line. I'll have a quick chat with you after. For everyone else,
and thank you everyone who's been watching this. Thanks for your presence. Very appreciated.
A lot of people watching. I had so many people contact me before you were coming on, saying how happy they were, including Chris Lynham, saying how happy they were.
Chris?
Yeah,
okay,
Chris messaged me.
Cool.
I think Chris is watching now. Just happy to be able, during this time when we're all isolated, I think half of this thing is the younger people. They're watching someone who's had experience and talk about their experience. And talking about their experience is really valuable, because when I began, I went on performers.net and I read other people's experiences. It's probably the only reason why I managed to claw my way to getting something which worked. So for people now in lockdown, they can't go to the pictures. Having this is great. But also as well, a lot of old friends and a lot of people who've been on the circuit for a long, long time really enjoy seeing old faces, and it's been great to, I feel like I've walked myself into a bad state. It's been great to see your old face.
Well, thank you. I don't know whether thank you or slug you in the face.
Well, when we meet in person, maybe you'll get the opportunity. Dave, thank you. Everybody else.
My pleasure. Hey, can I continue to read these? Because I want to read what everybody's
of course you can. You'll be able to go through everything. The video will be up. If people haven't watched it now, they can watch it until time immemorial. So you will be able to go through them. Everybody else, thank you. Dave, last chance. Would you like to say anything?
Okay. All the best. Thanks a lot, Matt. Take care.
Cool. Love you all. Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.